What if I told you one prophecy controls everything? Every end times event, every tribulation timeline, every detail in Revelation, not vague predictions, not symbolic imagery, mathematical precision. 2,500 years ago, God gave Daniel a countdown, a prophecy so exact it predicted Messiah's arrival to the year. The math is undeniable. 483 years from a specific decree, counting down to the exact day Jesus entered Jerusalem. Palm Sunday wasn't random. It was prophesied down to the calendar date. This is Daniel's 70 weeks. 70 weeks of years. 490 years total. God's master clock for human history. And here's what most people miss. This prophecy doesn't just predict Jesus. It unlocks the entire end times timeline. Revelation, Matthew 24. The Great Tribulation, every major prophetic event connects back to these 70 weeks. The Antichrist, the abomination of desolation, the second coming of Christ, all of it programmed into one ancient prophecy. Daniel chapter 9. 69 weeks have already been fulfilled with perfect accuracy, but 1 week remains. 7 final years. The tribulation period. This isn't speculation, it's God's calendar, written in advance, mathematically verifiable. Secular historians confirm the decree date. We can calculate the fulfillment. 483 years of 360 days each. Brings you to April 6th, 32 A.D., Jesus' triumphal entry, exactly when Daniel said Messiah would be cut off. This prophecy is the master key. Everything else locks into it. Want to understand Revelation? Let's start with Daniel's 70 weeks. Want to know when the tribulation happens? It's the 70th week. Want to see God's sovereignty over history? Watch this countdown unfold. No other prophecy gives you this level of precision. No other timeline controls every end times doctrine. If you want to understand how one ancient prophecy unlocks everything, from Messiah's first coming to his return, subscribe now. Because this isn't guesswork. This is God's calendar. And we're about to prove it mathematically. Picture Daniel, an old man now, sitting in Babylon with a scroll in his hands. It's the book of Jeremiah, and he's doing the math. 70 years. That's how long God said the exile would last. 70 years of Jerusalem lying in ruins. 70 years of the temple destroyed. 70 years of God's people scattered. And Daniel realizes, we're almost there. The clock is running out. But here's the problem. Nobody's praying. The prophecy said 70 years, sure. But that doesn't mean it just happens automatically. Someone has to pray it into existence. Someone has to stand in the gap. Someone has to cry out for Jerusalem's restoration. And Daniel looks around, and there's nobody. So what does he do? He puts on sackcloth, he covers himself in ashes, and he gets on his face before God. This isn't polite prayer. This isn't casual conversation. This is desperation. Daniel starts confessing, not his sins only, Israel's sins, the rebellion, the disobedience, the breaking of covenant. He doesn't make excuses. He doesn't say, but God, I didn't do it. No. He identifies with his people. He takes responsibility. He pleads for mercy. And here's where it gets wild. While he's still praying, before he even says, Amen, Gabriel shows up, mid-prayer, mid-sentence. Can you imagine? You're pouring your heart out to God, and suddenly an archangel is standing in front of you. Gabriel doesn't wait for an appointment. He doesn't knock. He just appears. And he says something incredible. Daniel, the moment you started praying, God sent me. Read that again. The moment you started praying, not when you finished, not when you said the right words. not when you earned it. The instant Daniel opened his mouth, heaven moved. Prayer doesn't convince God to act. Prayer releases God to act. Now here's the beautiful irony. Daniel asked a small question. God, what about these 70 years? When will Jerusalem be restored? And God gives him a cosmic answer. Daniel, let me show you the next 490 years. Let me show you the exact timeline to the Messiah. Let me show you when he'll come, when he'll be cut off, when the sacrifice will end, when the abomination will come, when history will climax. Daniel asks about one city. God shows him the destiny of the world. That's what prayer does. You bring your little question, your small concern, your immediate problem, and God opens the vault of eternity. Prayer doesn't just solve problems. Prayer unleashes revelation. It unlocks mysteries. It opens scrolls. It pulls back the curtain on heaven's plan. Daniel didn't stumble onto this prophecy by accident. He didn't find it in a textbook. He prayed it into existence. And that's the lesson we miss. We want the prophecy. We want the revelation. We want the answers. But we don't want to pray. We want the download without the desperation. But that's not how it works. Revelation follows intercession. Breakthrough follows crying out. Heaven's secrets are given to those who press in. Daniel prayed, and God tore open the future. But here's what most people miss. Daniel asked about 70 years. God answered with 70 weeks of years, 490 years. A timeline so precise it would prove God's sovereignty to the exact day. Let's break down what just happened. Daniel's sitting in Babylon reading Jeremiah, calculating that the 70-year exile is almost over. He prays, and Gabriel shows up with an answer that's way bigger than the question. 70 weeks, not 70 weeks of days, 70 weeks of years. The Hebrew word is Shabuah. It literally means sevens, and context tells us these are sevens of years. So 70 times 7 equals 490 years. 490 years of divine clockwork, ticking from a specific starting point to a specific ending point. Now here's where it gets beautiful. Remember those 70 Sabbath years Israel violated? The ones that caused the 70-year exile in the first place? God's not just restoring what was lost. He's multiplying it. 70 Sabbath years violated. 70 years of exile to repay the debt. And now, 490 years, 70 weeks of years to accomplish redemption. It's mathematical poetry. It's divine symmetry. Gabriel divides these 490 years into 3 sections. 7 weeks, that's 49 years. 62 weeks, that's 434 years. And 1 final week, 7 years. Add them up. 49 plus 434 plus 7 equals 490. 70 total weeks. The math checks out. But this isn't numerology. This isn't mystical speculation. This is God giving Daniel and giving us coordinates. A countdown. The kind of precision that leaves no room for coincidence. Think about how prophecy usually works. It's symbolic, right? It's vague enough to fit multiple scenarios. A virgin shall conceive. A star will rise. Those are beautiful, but they're not clocks. This is different. This is God saying, start the stopwatch here. And exactly 483 years later, watch what happens. So, when does the countdown start? Gabriel tells Daniel it begins with the decree to restore and rebuild Jerusalem. History records that decree. Artaxerxes, king of Persia, gives the command to Nehemiah in 445 BC. Not a decree to rebuild the temple. That happened earlier. This is specifically about Jerusalem, the walls, the city, the decree that sends Nehemiah back with authority and resources. 445 BC, mark it. Now do the math. 7 weeks, 49 years for the rebuilding phase. Jerusalem's walls and streets restored in troubled times. Nehemiah tells us it was rough, opposition, sabotage, but it happened. 49 years, then 62 more weeks. 434 years, stretching from the rebuilt city through the silent centuries. No prophets, no angelic messengers, just the clock ticking. 49 years plus 434 years equals 483 years total. 483 years from 445 BC brings us to AD 32. And Gabriel says that's when Messiah will be cut off. Not crowned, not celebrated, cut off, killed. After the 69th week, after 483 years, Messiah arrives and dies. History records it. Jesus enters Jerusalem on a donkey, the city that took 49 years to rebuild. 483 years after the decree, the exact year Gabriel predicted, the exact timeline Daniel received. Not approximate, not symbolic, mathematically precise, historically verifiable, prophetically perfect. This is what makes Daniel chapter 9 so stunning. God didn't just promise a Messiah someday, He scheduled him. 490 years, 3 divisions, one unmistakable target, and the countdown has already begun. Now we come to the most astonishing part of this prophecy. The first 69 weeks, that's 7 weeks plus 62 weeks, have been fulfilled with mathematical precision that defies coincidence. We're talking about prophecy so exact, so specific, that skeptics have tried everything to discredit it. And yet, the numbers don't lie. Let's do the math together. Daniel was told that from the decree to restore Jerusalem until the Messiah, the Prince, there would be 7 weeks and 62 weeks. That's 69 prophetic weeks total. 69 times 7 equals 483 years. But here's where it gets fascinating. The ancient Jewish calendar, and the calendar used throughout biblical prophecy, operates on 360-day years. These are called prophetic years. So when we calculate 483 prophetic years, we're talking about 173,880 days. The decree to restore and rebuild Jerusalem was issued by Artaxerxes Longimanus on the 1st of Nisan in the 20th year of his reign. Historians and biblical scholars have pinpointed this date, March 14th, 445 BC. Now watch this. Count forward 173,880 days from March 14th, 445 BC. Where do you land? April 6th, AD 32. And what happened on April 6th, AD 32? That was the exact day Jesus Christ rode into Jerusalem on a donkey for what we now call the Triumphal Entry. Palm Sunday, the day when the crowd shouted, "Hosanna! Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. Blessed is the King of Israel." Think about that. Daniel, writing in Babylon around 538 BC, predicted to the very day when the Messiah would present himself to Israel as their king. This wasn't close. This wasn't approximate. This was precise, exact, perfect. Jesus rode into Jerusalem exactly when Daniel said he would. Not a year early, not a day late. Right on schedule, according to a prophecy given over 500 years earlier. But the prophecy didn't end with celebration. Daniel wrote that after the 62 weeks, remember, that's after the combined 69 weeks, the Messiah would be cut off. That phrase, cut off, is the Hebrew word kareth. It means to be killed, executed, destroyed. It's a violent term, a final term. Our Jesus presented himself as Messiah on Palm Sunday, April 6th. Days later, just days, he was arrested, tried, mocked, beaten, and crucified. Messiah cut off, not for himself, Daniel says, but for the sins of the people. The prophecy continues with another stunning prediction. And the people of the prince who is to come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary. In AD 70, exactly 38 years after Jesus was crucified, the Roman legions under Titus surrounded Jerusalem. They laid siege to the city. They broke through the walls. They slaughtered over 1 million Jews, and they destroyed the temple, stone by stone, just as Jesus had predicted when he said, "Not one stone will be left upon another." The city destroyed. The sanctuary destroyed. Exactly as Daniel prophesied. Exactly as Jesus confirmed. Now here's where most people miss something crucial. Daniel's prophecy speaks of 70 weeks, 77's, 490 years total, but only 69 weeks, 483 years, have been fulfilled so far. We're still waiting on the final week, the 70th week. What happened? Where's the missing week? The answer is this: we are living in the gap. After the 69th week, after Messiah was cut off, the prophetic clock stopped. It paused. God pressed pause on Israel's timeline. Why? Because Israel rejected her Messiah. The nation as a whole said no to Jesus. And so God turned to the Gentiles. He opened the door of salvation to all nations. This period, this gap between the 69th and 70th week, is what we call the church age, the age of grace, the time of the Gentiles. We are living in that gap right now, 2,000 years and counting. But make no mistake, the clock hasn't been canceled, it's been paused, and one day soon, that clock will start ticking again. The final 7 years, the 70th week, will begin. When the church is removed, when believers are taken up to be with the Lord, the focus returns to Israel. The treaty is signed. The countdown resumes. And Daniel's final week, the 7-year tribulation, begins. 69 weeks fulfilled with perfect accuracy, 1 week remains. The question isn't if it will happen. History has proven Daniel's reliability. The question is when. And beloved, that day is closer than ever. Now we come to the most terrifying week of all. Week 70, the final 7 years. And here's what you need to understand. This week hasn't happened yet. We are living in the gap, the pause between week 69 and week 70, the church age, the age of grace. But that gap will close, and when it does, all hell breaks loose, literally. Daniel chapter 9, verse 27 tells us exactly what triggers the final week. He will confirm a covenant with many for 1 week. The Antichrist will make a peace deal. 7 years. It will seem like the answer to the Middle East crisis, the solution everyone's been waiting for. Israel will rebuild their temple. The world will celebrate peace at last. But it's a lie, a trap, the calm before the storm, because at the midpoint, exactly 3.5 years in, the Antichrist breaks that covenant. He walks into the temple, into the Holy of Holies, and he commits what Daniel calls the abomination of desolation. Our Jesus himself references this in Matthew 24. Paul warns about it in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2. The Antichrist will literally set himself up as God. He will demand worship. He will declare himself deity. And the second half begins. The Great Tribulation, the worst 3.5 years in human history, not just bad, not just catastrophic, the worst. Jesus said if those days weren't cut short, no flesh would survive. 0. Complete annihilation. That's the level of devastation we're talking about. This final week is the framework for everything in Revelation. The seals, the trumpets, the bowls of wrath, the 2 witnesses, the mark of the beast, the battle of Armageddon. It all happens during these 7 years. Week 70 is the key that unlocks the entire end times timeline. Daniel's 70 weeks aren't symbolic. They're not metaphorical. They're chronological, mathematical, prophetic precision. 69 weeks have been fulfilled exactly as predicted. Week 70 is coming. But here's what you must grasp. We are not in week 70 yet. We're in the gap. Some call it the church age, some call it the times of the Gentiles, but it's the interval between week 69 and week 70. An interval Daniel didn't see because it wasn't revealed to him. God's prophetic clock for Israel stopped. It's been paused for nearly 2,000 years, but that clock will restart. The final week will begin. And when that covenant is signed, the countdown starts. 7 years until Christ returns. 7 years of judgment. 7 years of tribulation like the world has never seen. The question isn't if, it's when. And are you ready? Here's what changes everything. Daniel's 70 weeks prophecy doesn't just tell us what happened, it tells us what's coming. Think about this. God gave Daniel a timeline predicting the exact day Messiah would arrive in Jerusalem. And it happened to the day. The first 69 weeks, fulfilled with mathematical precision, the Messiah was cut off exactly as prophesied. Jerusalem and the temple destroyed in 70 AD, just like Daniel said. If the first 69 weeks were fulfilled with that level of accuracy, what does that tell us about the 77th week? It's coming, and it will unfold exactly as written. Right now, we're living in the gap. The prophetic clock stopped when Israel rejected their Messiah, but God didn't abandon his plan. He paused it. This gap, this church age, is the time we're in now. But the clock hasn't been canceled. It's been paused. And one day soon, it will restart. Look at the signs. In 1948, after nearly 2,000 years, Israel returned to their land. That wasn't luck. That was prophecy fulfilling before our eyes. The stage is being set. Peace deals are being negotiated. Global governance structures are forming. The pieces are moving into position. When that prophetic clock restarts, we'll enter the final 7 years, Daniel's 71st week, the countdown to Jesus' return. And just like God calculated Messiah's first arrival down to the day, he's calculated the timing of his return with the same precision. This isn't about fear, it's about readiness, it's about hope. The same God who orchestrated history according to Daniel's prophecy is still in control. He knows the day, he knows the hour, and he's never late. Well, we're watching the setup phase unfold right now. Every headline about the Middle East, every push for global unity, every sign of the times, it's all part of the pattern Daniel saw 2,500 years ago. Here's the truth. Daniel's 70 weeks prophecy is the master key. Once you understand it, everything else in end times prophecy clicks into place. Revelation makes sense. Jesus' warnings make sense. The whole picture comes together. The countdown is closer than it's ever been. Are you ready?